They say that for every age of darkness, a sentinel is born, not to fight the shadows, but to outshine them. In 1893, a man returned to a land he no longer knew. A scholar of the West, armed with the logic of Oxford and the languages of empires. But as his feet touched the dust of India, the world of books fell silent. A vast, cinematic peace, untouched by time, claimed him. We see God in temples and mountaintops. He found him in a cage, in the damp solitude of Alipore jail. The bars dissolved, the walls became light. In that silence, the revolutionary died and the seer was born. But Aurobindo's journey did not end with personal peace. He looked at the human race and saw an unfinished masterpiece. He saw a species on the brink of a radical mutation. For 40 years, he walked a hidden path. He did not ask us to leave the world behind. He asked us to bring the divine into it, to change the very cells of our being, to turn matter into spirit. This is not just a biography. This is the record of an evolutionary leap. Join us for a deep dive into the life and vision of Sri Aurobindo. Beyond the mind, beyond the ego, into the dawn of a new humanity. In February 1893, a young man stepped off a ship at Apollo Bandar in Bombay. He had been away for 14 years, long enough to forget the smell of the earth and the sound of his mother tongue. He was, by all accounts, an Englishman in thought and habit. But as his foot touched the soil of India, the system of his mind fell silent. Aurobindo would later say that in that particular moment, India did not just receive a son, she reclaimed a soul. This is the first lesson from Aurobindo's life. The truth does not require a library. All it requires is a presence. Even before he knew a single Sanskrit mantra, the divine had already claimed him in the silence of his arrival. For the next decade, Aurobindo lived in Baroda. To the world, he was a professor of French and English. But behind the doors of his study, a secret fire was being stoked. He began to practice pranayama for 5 or 6 hours a day. His brother once saw him in his study, surrounded by a mountain of books. But Aurobindo wasn't reading. He was staring into the distance. When asked what he was doing, he replied, "I am not reading the words written by the pen. I am looking for the one who moves the pen." This particular period is vital for any seeker who feels stuck in a secular job. Aurobindo proved that your career is merely a stage in which your sadhana takes place. He was a civil servant by the day, but a revolutionary of the spirit by the night. He shows us that the divine life cannot start in a cave. It starts exactly where you are sitting right now. Then came the Alipore jail, a year of solitary confinement. Most men would have broken. Aurobindo instead thrived. In the damp, dark cell, he realized that the bars were not made of iron, but of his own ego. He began to see the divine, the Vasudev, in everything. During his trial, as the lawyers argued over his life and death, Aurobindo sat in the dock smiling. He wasn't listening to the evidence, he was listening to a different voice. He saw the judge not as an enemy, but as a manifestation of the divine. He saw the prison warden as his own brother. He reminds us that freedom is an internal state. If you can find the divine in a 9x5 prison cell, you can find him anywhere. This wasn't just philosophy for Aurobindo. It was a living, breathing reality that turned a death sentence into a profound state of samadhi. For centuries, we have been told that the spiritual path is an escape. We were taught to climb the ladder of consciousness, to shed our humanity like an old skin, and to disappear into the silent absolute. But Sri Aurobindo turned this ancient ladder upside down. He looked at the suffering of the world and realized that if we only seek to leave the earth, we leave it in darkness. He proposed a great inversion. Instead of the soul's lonely ascent to God, he called for the divine's descent into the soul. This is not a yoga of rejection, but a yoga of a radical embrace. It is the belief that the divine did not create the world as a mistake to be escaped, but as a masterpiece to be finished. No spiritual journey is complete in isolation. In 1914, the vision met its power when Mirisal Fasa, known to history as the Mother, arrived in Pondicherry. The work shifted from theory to manifestation. Aurobindo once said that the spirit is the master of the house, but the mother is the executive force who builds it. To the seeker, this relationship represents the perfect balance of our own nature, the silent witness within us meeting the dynamic energy that acts in the world. They proved that the highest spiritual heights are only useful if they can be anchored in the simplest daily actions. In the way we work, the way we speak, and the way we love. In a way, it was the combination of Shiva and Shakti. How do we even begin this work? Aurobindo helps us by mapping out a journey that he calls triple transformation. First is the psychic transformation. This is the inward turn. It is finding that spark of divine within the heart, the true psychic being that remains calm amidst the storms of the ego. It is the moment you stop being a passenger in your life and become the conscious driver. Second is the spiritual transformation. This is the upward opening. The mind falls silent and you begin to receive light, peace, and knowledge from the vast plains above our intellect. You no longer think the truth, you breathe it. And finally, the most radical stage, the supramental transformation. This is the downward pressure of this light into the very cells of our body. It is the long, patient work of changing our biological habit of suffering and death into a habit of light and immortality. This is why it is called integral yoga. It does not ask you to choose between the monastery and the marketplace. It asks you to integrate them. Every thought, every emotion, and every physical movement is an opportunity for the divine to manifest. For the seeker, Aurobindo's message is one of immense hope. He tells us that our flaws, our struggles, and even our physical limitations are not obstacles to the path. They are the very path. We are not fixing ourselves for God. We are becoming a vessel through which God can finally experience the beauty of His own beautiful creation on earth. In 1926, after a profound spiritual breakthrough known as the Day of Siddhi, Sri Aurobindo withdrew. He closed the door to his room and did not emerge for 24 years. To the world, this looked like the end of a biography. To the seeker, it was the beginning of the great work. He did not retreat because he was tired of the world. He retreated to find the lever that could move it. He lived in a state of constant concentration, turning his room into a laboratory of the soul. He proved that the silence is not an absence of sound, but the presence of a power so vast that speech only serves to diminish it. But how does a man sitting in a room change the world? For Aurobindo, it was through the body. He spent 8 to 10 hours a day simply walking back and forth. Over the decades, his feet literally wore a path into the solid stone floor. This wasn't just exercise, it was a walking meditation. He was using his physical frame as a bridge, pulling the supramental light through his nerves, through his blood, and into the very cells of his body. He was testing a radical hypothesis that the spirit could conquer the inconscient, the dark mechanical habit of matter that leads to fatigue, illness, and decay. He was fighting the final battle on behalf of all of us, within the microcosm of his own flesh. During those years of silence, Aurobindo was writing, not for fame, but to create a map. His epic poem Savitri is the longest in the English language. But its length is not its secret. Its secret is its vibration. Aurobindo rewrote Savitri dozens of times, changing words only when the rhythm matched the exact spiritual vibration he had experienced in his meditations. For the seeker, Savitri is a mantric bridge. It is a record of his travels through the inner worlds, from the darkest abysses of the subcontinent to the highest suns of the supermind. When you read Savitri aloud, you are not just reading poetry. You are participating in his journey. You are being tuned to the very frequency of the future that Aurobindo envisaged. Even in total seclusion, Aurobindo's eyes were always on the world. During the dark days of World War II, he openly put his spiritual force behind the Allies, seeing the conflict not as a political war, but as an asuric or demonic attempt to block human evolution. He showed us that the true yogi is the ultimate global citizen. He lived the paradox. A man who owned nothing, went nowhere, and spoke to no one, yet whose inner work was shifting the destiny of nations. He teaches us that our inner peace is not a private luxury, it is a responsibility. Every bit of the light we anchor in ourselves is a gift to the collective soul of humanity. In the late 1950s, Sri Aurobindo reached a decision that remains one of the greatest mysteries of modern spirituality. After decades of pulling the supramental light into his own body, he realized that for this light to truly break through the crust of human unconsciousness, a radical sacrifice was needed. He didn't die in the way we understand death. He withdrew. He chose to leave his physical frame to work from the subtle planes, believing that from there he could push the evolution forward with a force that the physical body could not yet hold. He told the mother, "I shall manifest again in a new form, but the work must continue." What followed defied every law of biology. For 111 hours, nearly 5 days, Sri Aurobindo's body lay in his room, yet it did not decay. Despite the heat of Pondicherry, his skin remained fresh, and his face was suffused with a luminous golden aura. Thousands of people filed past him, witnessing not a corpse, but a physical form that seemed to be vibrating with the very supermind he had spent his life describing. It was as if he were leaving behind a physical proof, a sign that matter had indeed been touched by the immortal. On the 5th day, when the light finally began to fade, he was laid to rest in the Samadhi, under the service tree in the ashram courtyard. But Aurobindo's vision was never meant to be confined in a room or a tomb. In 1968, the mother carried his dream into the physical world. With the founding of Auroville, the city of dawn, Auroville was built on a piece of desert land in the South India as a living laboratory. Its purpose, you ask? To prove that people of all nations, all creeds, and all backgrounds could live together in human unity, governed not by laws, but by a truth consciousness. Today, the golden dome of Matri Mandir stands as a beacon for every seeker, a physical manifestation of the silent work Aurobindo began in his room decades earlier. As we close this long journey, we are left with a question. Was Sri Aurobindo a man of the past or a man of a future we haven't yet reached? For the seeker, he tells us that we are transient beings. We are not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter. The philosophy of descent is a call to stop looking for God in the clouds and to start finding Him in our breath, our work, and our very selves. He didn't leave us a religion to follow, He left us an evolution to complete. The hour before the gods awake is over. The dawn is here, and the next step of the journey belongs to you. Sri Aurobindo believed that the evolution of consciousness isn't something that happens to us. It is something we must consciously choose. If his vision of a new humanity is to move from page to the world, it begins with our shared exploration. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, if you could bring a higher light into just one area of your daily life, your work, your relationships, or your inner silence, where would you start? Let's turn this comment section into a space of collective aspirations. Your reflection might just be the spark another seeker needs to see their own path. This is the story of Sri Aurobindo. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. We are going to do a series on the saints of modern India, where we will talk about saints like Ramakrishna Paramhans, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Osho, and Ramana Maharshi. If you want a story of a saint that is close to your heart, please mention in the comments, and we will do that. Thanks for being a part of our community. Goodbye for now, but we will see you soon with more such inspiring stories and philosophies to uncover the secret of human consciousness.